for a couple months now, she's had some pain in her upper chest area. We thought that it was a torn pec that she got when she was in CrossFit, and we did x-rays and blood tests and MRIs, and they couldn't really find out what was going on. And then finally we were told by a doctor that lived close to us that the only way to really know what's going on in the lymph node is to take a biopsy. And so we did a biopsy. That was the day the coaches reported back from summer break. We did the biopsy. I had crazy stuff on my mind with the biopsy and with the team and them reporting 2 days later. And then it was a week where we didn't know what was going on. The tests weren't coming back. Pathology hadn't got us the results. And it was interesting because one night we were doing, it was a team meeting, and I knew a bunch of stuff was going on with players where we had 2 players' moms who had strokes this summer. We had players who were having babies. We had players who had family back home that were sick. And so what the team meeting was basically, you guys need to look out for each other, and you need to look for those signs in each other. You can see it in their eyes when they're struggling a little bit and they got stuff off the field that's occupying their minds. We need to look out for that stuff as a team. Well, little did I know that 15 minutes later after this team meeting, Sara was gonna show up in my office and tell me she's got cancer. Because we did a biopsy. I didn't think in my wildest dreams it was cancer. And that was hard on me, where I then left that meeting, I guess, with Sara and went right into a staff meeting. And I said, okay, I knew in the back of my head we had an appointment with the doctor at 11 the next morning. And I go into staff meeting, and I'm thinking, how do we get through meetings and practice, get done by 11 so I can get down to the hospital? It wasn't gonna work in the schedule. So I said, well, what if we cut meetings short 15 minutes this morning or tomorrow morning? And the coaches said, no, we can't do that, we need our meetings. And I said, well, what if we take 2 periods off for practice? Nah, we gotta get the practice in. And so I said, guys, close the door real quick. And I looked him in the eyes, I said, I don't even know how to tell you this, but Sara just left my office telling me she has cancer. And I don't know how to balance it. I don't know how to balance it. And they said, Coach, we got it. If you gotta leave early, we got it. That was my first thought into how the heck do I balance this? Because obviously I know that Sara's the most important thing I can do, and taking care of her is the most important. I also know that, having said that, that she doesn't want a huge distraction with the team because of how she is and how strong she is. And so the next couple days were her and I trying to figure out how we're gonna balance this. What can we put on the assistant coaches? Where do I need to break free? I want to be to her chemo treatments and support her as much as I can, but at the same time, we got 95 players looking at us expecting to win and be good this year. We've got assistant coaches and their families expecting to be good this year. And so we do have to juggle it, and we have to balance it, and I gotta rely on the assistant coaches. I gotta rely on Sara to be strong. And so quite frankly, to answer that question, exactly how I balance it, I don't know. We're in the heart of it right now, trying to do the best we can.
Sara, can you talk about the process that you had to go through when you were discovering what happened? What a shock that must have been.
So the whole time, I honestly thought it was an infection. I've had a couple infections before, and so doctor after doctor, you know, what's going on. They did, in the MRI, they found an 1.5 inch tear off of my sternum. And so it was a little odd that this lymph node was swollen, but basically telling me that, you know, that's what lymph nodes do. It's reacting to, so there's a little bit of smoke and mirrors in trying to diagnose it, and it was kind of difficult. But when we were waiting for the biopsy, I kind of was, well, what's the big deal? We'll find out when we find out. You worry about football. And Jay would call me every day. Did you find out? Did you find out? Call and find out. And finally I called my family doctor, and he did some searching, and he's the one that actually found the results to it and called me that Tuesday night. And I was taking my grandma home to her assisted living in Sandy when he told me, and nobody was at home, so I came just straight up to the office to tell him. And I don't know if that was the easiest thing for him, but he's handled it great and been super supportive. Again, I was just thinking, wow, I thought it was an infection. So bottom line, I am thrilled to know what it is, to get rid of the pain, to finally, they had me on Mobic, anti-inflammatory, pretty heavy dose, and without it I wouldn't be able to. We had the players over to a barbecue one night, and I had forgotten to take it, and I couldn't reach to get a picture from above my fridge. So it was pretty painful, and I'm to the point where whatever it is, let's just get rid of it and move on. I told Jay, at first I just was like, gosh, I'm gonna lose my hair, I'm kind of worried about it, and he wasn't too expressive about it, and he was so sweet and went down and looked at a couple wig shops and found some places to go and did all the research on what kind of wig to get, and I said, not really what I'm worried about. I'm more worried about the actual shaving, and I really don't want to be just you and I shaving my head in the bathroom. That would be probably the most depressing thing I could imagine. So I can't ask my girlfriends, that's not fair, but maybe would 1 or 2 players want to do it with me, or could we do something like that? And I had told Jay and my sister, I just want it to be fun and to be a party. And every year in the summer during camp, we have the wives come over, the players' wives and the coaches' wives come over for a barbecue, and we're going to be doing that anyways. So we started off with that, and we make sure everybody has their phone numbers and game schedules and travel information, so that we're all connected as a family, kind of regroup. And then luckily, a few players came, not just 1 or 2, and shaved their heads with me. And when we got the video at chemotherapy the next day, that was the other thing that was so crazy, is my daughter said, Mom, I don't know if I can watch you do this by myself. Can I have a friend come over and do it with me? I said, sure. And then she said, well, Courtney wants to make a video. Can she do that? I said, I never thought of that. That would be fantastic. And she does all their videos for their drill team, and it was just phenomenal that she had that to me the next day as I'm sitting in chemo. And my sister, who was with me, said, gosh, does that make you so sad? And I said, no. And a lot of those views are me, because I watch it over and over, and I just sit there grinning ear to ear, because I absolutely love it. It fills me up. It gives me strength, and I haven't cried once over the video. It's something that makes me super happy, and mostly because these players are just so cute and so sweet. And when I look at those players, I see my 9-year-old boy. I see them as these little kids that are just so sweet and need Jay and I to be substitute parents while they're away from theirs. And we are so happy that we get to do that.
This is an opportunity for them to really grow up and be supportive and help on the other end. A lot of times they're the ones receiving help and support, and now they get to give it. I couldn't be happier with the way they responded, because I didn't say, hey guys, we got to go shave our head. I wouldn't do that. But it was a couple of our Polynesian players said, Coach, we're going to do it. And for those guys, it's hard. They've been growing their hair for years. And for them to do what they did was a huge outpouring of love and support for us. And you know, it lets us know that we're at least on the right track doing what we're supposed to do, and getting them to act the way they're supposed to act. That was huge for me to see. Well, I think you got to be optimistic. It's a hard situation. You got to be optimistic. Otherwise, you're going to have everything weighing on you, and that's not the way to overcome something like this for her. And if I go home negative Nelly every night, yelling at the kids and screaming and mad because of her circumstance, that's only going to make it worse. So that doesn't help me. I know it's not going to help her. And in the end of the day, I really believe that being positive is going to help her defeat this. I think that's in all aspects of life.
For me, I think when I was calling to tell my family in the initial, Jay says, you sound like a lawyer. Because I would just call him back, okay, here's the deal. And just go straight down the list of this is what it is, this is how we're going to tackle it. And that's kind of how I do most things. I do get emotional when those little tender mercies, or when I'm telling people, and it is moving, and the support has been so wonderful. That's when I get emotional. I don't get emotional about the diagnosis. I don't get emotional about the treatment. I feel like I'm pretty tough, and as bad as it sucks to be sick or tired and not be able to do everything I want to do, I still am giving it my all and want to do as much as I possibly can.
You kind of answered this, but did you ever think of just doing it privately, not saying anything, and going on, try to fight through without telling you.
I never did. I'm one not to, I kind of wear everything on my sleeve. I probably say too much when I talk to people about, what's going on with football, and I'm a little bit of an open book maybe.
Well,
But
in today's world with social media and with everything going on, and she's always at practice and she's always with the players, I mean, people are going to find out. And what I didn't want is this thing to drag on into the season, and we got to get focused, and our players got to get focused, and we got to get certain things done, and she's got to get certain things done. And I just didn't want it to be that's why, and that was the biggest reason why. And then when we first got diagnosed with it, I didn't want the drama of people calling her all the time and things like that. So we tried to keep it, figure out what's going on first, and then we can attack it and put it behind us, and get done with what the other things that need to be done as well.
And I'm one too. My sister pointed out, she was talking to her boyfriend, and he said, well, I don't know what to say to her. Do we even come around? I don't want to go bother them. And she said, no, she thrives on people. She likes to have people in her home. She thrives on the energy of that, and I really do. It makes me a little bit sad that they told me I can't travel, and that to be careful with if I get a fever. So a lot of contact with people, it should be limited, which makes me a little bit sad, because I would still love to have the players over for dinner every Thursday night like we did last year. But I know I've got to limit that for a little bit.
And our personality too is if we could just kind of drift away and have no one know, I mean, that would be ideal, just to kind of live life. That's just not reality in today's sports world, and I wish it were different, but it's just it's not reality. So
can I ask a few background things, like how did you guys meet, how long have you been married, children's ages, etc.?
Honestly, we met, she was hitchhiking. That's the honest truth. She was hitchhiking. She was going to a Rick's College basketball game. Her and her friend stuck out their thumb, and my friend and I pulled over and picked her up. She jumped in the back, and
he thought my friend was cuter. Luckily, his friend said, no, I've seen the other one on campus. That's the one you want to date. So, thanks to Pete.
So I don't know how that just got out, but that was a heck of a question. We have 4 kids. The oldest is 16. And then it goes 16, 12, 9, and 5. We have one boy, he's the 9-year-old, just had his birthday yesterday, and Allie's our baby. So we got married right when I left Rick's College and went to the University of Utah. We got married. So she's been with me ever since I played at the University of Utah through my coaching, and it's kind of our history.
What have you kind of told your kids about all this? Obviously, different age ranges, how they handle certain news more than others.
Well, yeah, so we sat them down. Like I said, people were going to find out, and so we had to let them know. In fact, some people knew before the kids knew, unfortunately, but we had to let them know. They took it hard, because what kids associate cancer with is death now, unfortunately, and rates have got so much better over the last 20 years. But we had to let them know. It freaked them out a little bit. The first thing, our 12-year-old, she screamed out, I don't want Mom to die. Well, I said, hold on. Well, then that's what the 5-year-old hears, and so she's freaking out. And, to tell them stuff like that's hard, but, they've settled down and they've handled it great since. Like I say, Hodgkin's lymphoma is extremely curable right now, and the doctors do such an unbelievable job with it. So they had to know, but at the same time, I think they've taken it in stride and know that Mom's going to be okay.